I wanna welcome you all in Amsterdam on a beautiful, on a really beautiful, on a really beautiful area in Amsterdam where I am right now. So, and what are we gonna do today? Yeah, what are we gonna do today? This.
If you visit American City, you will find it very pretty.
Just two things on which you must beware.
Don't drink the water, yeah.
Pollution, pollution, because fog and sewage and mud. Turn on your tap
And get hot and cold running crowd.
Do up, do up.
See the halibuts and the sturgeons being wiped out by detergent. Fish swim and birds that fly. But they don't last long if they try.
Pollution. So we're gonna have a lot of talkings about pollution. So welcome in Amsterdam. My name is Stefan. I'm your guide here today in the beautiful city of Amsterdam, and I'm gonna take you around. So, I'm gonna take you around in the coming 45 minutes, and we're gonna talk about pollution, about trash, about all kind of things that you normally don't think about that. So I didn't see Oscar, so that is I didn't see. You shouldn't see that yet, so that's for later. That's for later. Sorry for having that already in the. There's a stealth beer. Yeah, he's with me today because he wants to show you something too. But that is for later on the tour. So, but I want to welcome you in Amsterdam on a rainy day. And when I planned this tour, that was on Monday. Because what happened earlier this week in Amsterdam is, and by the way, not only in Amsterdam, but also in several other Dutch cities, is that the garbage collectors started to strike. And they started to strike, and the plan was to have a strike for the whole week. And mainly because, of course, a strike because they wanted more money, they wanted more salary for the dirty work that they are doing. So they started to strike on Monday, and on Tuesday I was getting to my office, and I was over the street. On the street there were trash bags everywhere. It was already, after one day, a complete mess in Amsterdam. And I thought, like, oh my goodness, how will this be after, like, it's now Friday, 5, 6, 7 days? It will be unbelievable. So I thought, like, let's do a tour around the trash in Amsterdam, about garbage collecting, about hygiene, about all that kind of things. And I was expecting that the strike was still there. So I planned a tour on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday morning I woke up, and then there was the news. Oh, we have a deal. So from Wednesday on, the trash collectors started working again. It was a mess, so it took them 2 days. And now on Friday, it's quite clean again. So we are, in a way, lucky. And I'm also, to be honest, quite happy for the garbage collectors, because, I mean, they're doing hard work. But that means that we will not see so much trash over here today. We will not see so much trash, but I can still tell you and show you some parts of Amsterdam where we are connecting it to like earlier times, like how it was here before. So, and yes, they deserve that raise for sure. So they got a raise of 12%, by the way, but the inflation here was 10%. So, so you can imagine that they really needed that. So it's a good thing. So in the end, in Amsterdam, they only had to strike for 2 days. But the thing is, in some other cities, it was going on already for weeks. But some other cities are less busy than Amsterdam. So we're gonna do it a little different. But I prepared a tour, of course, so will have less trash, but still a lot of stories. Still a lot of stories. But before we're doing that, there's one other thing that I want to say. This is a little different tour. And the other thing that I want to say is that just about, I think, an hour ago, I was reading that one of my amazing colleagues, to be precise, Francis from Vienna, most probably a lot of you have done tours with him, or at least did one, or maybe two, or maybe three, or maybe even 100 tours with them. And just about an hour ago, I heard that he died. He died when he was, by the way, going back from Brazil to Austria. So he had his holidays in Brazil, and he was on the way back in the plane to get to Austria to get back to give us tours again uh, to get us tours again, of course, from Austria. And then he died, most probably in the plane. So it is true. Yeah, sadly enough, it is true. So I heard it about an hour ago and made sure that I got all the information to not spread anything if it's not true, because that would be awful. But of course, I mean, he is. Thank you, Sarai, for the exact dates. I don't know the exact days, but yeah, he was, of course, my colleague in Vienna. I never did a tour with him together, but I think a lot of us know him from his very specific style. So very specific style, and yeah, he's for sure very young, a lot too young. So and he was a very special guide. So, and the one thing I always remind about him is that he was using several words and always two times. So if he, for example, was seeing uh, something beautiful in the city, then it was always, do you want a picture? Do you want a picture? It's always picture. Not only picture, two pictures. And not only that, if someone giving him was giving him a tip, it was always kissy kissy. Also, not one kiss, but two kisses. So I really think it is. I just want to have a little moment to think about my amazing colleague from Vienna, who sadly enough will not do any tours anymore. I hope he will rest in peace. He was from 1965, so I'm not so good in calculating. So you can wait, and I'm just gonna play some music just for a minute to think about Francis. Okay, and the wonderful thing is I started this tour in the complete rain, and while we're thinking a little about Francis, the sky is opening, the blue sky is coming back. It's almost like we are in Brazil, at the country where he was originally coming from. So I just wanted to have this little moment to think about him, and to think about some of the amazing tours that he did. Not so long ago, by the way, before he went to Brazil, he was even, I think, a day in Amsterdam, was doing a tour over here. I was at that moment not in Amsterdam, but so I couldn't meet him because I was not here. But of course, it's sad news. So I'm wishing the best and a lot of strength to his family, and to, of course, a lot of also to a lot of you who are doing his tours. So okay. Then back to the tour. Where I am today, I am in one of the most beautiful parts of Amsterdam, as you can see. And there are always people on bicycles going around you. If you're living over here, you will get used to it. But I am over here in in a beautiful area of the city called the Jordaan area. And the Jordaan area was originally the poor man's area of Amsterdam. The poor man's area of Amsterdam. And the word Jordaan, by the way, is coming from the French word jardin. Jardin, and I don't know if some of you are speaking French. Jardin, that means garden. I mean, you don't see a lot of garden nowadays here anymore. So it is just nowadays a beautiful area. But this used to be the Jordaan. This used to be one of the poor man's area of Amsterdam. So a lot of people were living over here in the Jordaan. And Evelyn, yeah, there are also some people thinking that it is based on the river Jordan, but no, it is. And there are also some stories about that, but the most common explanation is that it's relating to the French word jardin, and that is because in this area, and I have to go back to the 17th century. In the 17th century, Amsterdam became a very rich and powerful city. With a lot of rich people that were starting to live over here, a lot of rich traders, and these rich people, of course, they also had a lot of jobs. So what people were doing from, for example, the southern part of the Netherlands, but also from Belgium and even from France, they were coming. I see that it's sometimes a little. I hope you can hear me well, by the way. Because it is a little windy and I'm not using my earphones yet. You can hear me well? Okay, that's good to hear. We have, by the way, a beautiful sunset coming, as you can see. No, but the Jordaan area was the poor man's area. So the rich traders that, of course, they had a lot of work. They had a lot of people working for them. And all these poor people, they were starting. They also needed a place to live. So what happened is that Amsterdam was making a new neighborhood, and that new neighborhood was called the Jordaan, the Jardin, and in the French word Jardin became Jordaan. So. And yeah, there's not a lot nowadays that you can find from this anymore, because nowadays it's one of the richest area in Amsterdam, as you can see if you're looking, for example, at this car. I'm not so good in cars, but I think it's a Porsche. Yeah, it's a Porsche. So I'm not the best at that. Expensive car, at least. No, but the poor people were living over here. We're living in the Jordaan, and nowadays in this area in Amsterdam there are about 20,000 people living. There are about 20,000 people living in this area, but in the 18th and 19th century there were not 20,000 people living, but about 100,000 people. So imagine that, for example, a house like the ones over here on the site. I mean, nowadays they're beautifully restored. There may be several levels, so they're in a house. We now see two houses next to each other. There will maybe living 6 people in total, 2 on each level. In the 18th and 19th century, that was about 5 to 6 times more than it is right now. So there were lots and lots and lots and lots of people, and all these people were living together. They were very poor, and you can maybe also imagine that in the 17th century they were just building this area, and people were building these houses, but there was nothing further. So there were not all the things that we nowadays have to clean the streets. So people were living over here, um, and they were using for their trash, because of course this is a tour about trash. But they were using for this tour, for that trash, the canals. So we are now walking over one of the filled up canals. By the way, this used to be a canal until the 19th century. But basically, what happened is that all the people that were living over here in this area were using the canals, like this canal, for all their trash. So all the poop, the pee, the rests of food. Think about everything you can think of um, that was just thrown in the canals. And I even have a picture that gives a little the feeling of, and it is not the canal over here, because, but it's one of the next ones. But here is it is a painting of the 18th century of the same area. So this is how the Jordan looked in the 18th century. So as you can see, there was a canal in the middle. There were tiny houses, and this canal, you can even see it a little on the picture that I'm showing right now. Even this canal is quite full of trash. So that was our open sewage system that you're seeing over here. So unbelievable, isn't it? Just thrown inside the canal. And just to give you, I think I have another picture too. Let me see. A little similar from another canal. Here you can maybe see it even more. So the water in the canals in the Jordan, and by the way, also in the rest of the city. It was not only the Jordan, but here it was more. There were more people living. But this was a little the feeling that you had when you were coming to Amsterdam in the 17th, 18th, and even in the 19th century. So uh, there was a lot of trash. There was a lot of dirt. There was everything. And anything like Venice used to be. Exactly. Venice is even still nowadays sometimes a little smelly like that. Um, but yeah, it was like that, and especially in the area over here. But of course, there were in Amsterdam also a lot of rich traders. They were living over here in Amsterdam. They were living over here, and of course, they were also living in this dirty city. This dirty city that had in that time the name, the beautiful lady with the bad breath. So you can imagine where the bad breath was coming from just what you what you had, what was coming from the fragrance that was coming from the canals. So the beautiful lady with the bad breath. Thank you, Anna. Oh, welcome. Sorry, Virginia, that you're now stopping to eat. So yeah, so the beautiful lady with the bad breath. So but the rich people, the rich traders, of course, they were also living over here. And not only while we're looking at the beautiful northern church, but not only the canals here in the Jordan, but also the canals in the canal district were about the same quality. So the water was on a very bad quality. So what happened? Uh, you can maybe let's give you a guess. What do you think that these richer people were doing? How to minimize that they were not having all this dirt the whole year? What do you think they were doing? And no, they were not building toilets. No, they were using the same canal still to throw everything in. So just a bucket, and I see. I think, Noreen, you've done more tours with me because I've been talking about this before, but Noreen is right. The rich people, like the ones we see, like a beautiful row of canal houses here at the other side of the street, the rich people who could afford it, they were building a summer house outside of Amsterdam. And these summer houses, uh, they were sometimes 20, 30 kilometers away on a beautiful area where there were no other people. So it's a good guess. It's a good guess, Noreen. And why they were doing that? Because you can imagine that in summertime, even more, if you have all the dirt in the canals, the rotting corpses of the animals that we were eating, we were also throwing them in the canals. So it was dirt everywhere. So the rich people who could afford it, they were just going away in summertime, and they were only living here in wintertime. So um, so that was an interesting way. But of course, the poor people, they did not have the money. They could not go. Somewhere else. So they were staying in the city, and that was not very healthy. So exactly, Evelyn, the river is an open urinal. That is basically what it was for a very long time. So there are writings about Amsterdam where they're describing how the water in the canals was completely black. So nowadays, if we see pollution, then we're thinking about plastic pollution a lot. But in these days, it was all the other things, and it was that the water was completely black. So it was a very dirty time. So, and the interesting thing is that at the same time, okay, let's say 17th, 18th century. Of course, people also needed, and look at the beautiful skies in the meantime. But people, of course, also needed water. They needed drinking water. So, and how they were collecting drinking water, yeah, you didn't want to drink out of the canals. I mean, but some of the poor people were even doing that. Thank you, Michelle. Some of the poor people were even doing that. But what they were trying to do is to collect the rainwater. But that was not enough. That was not enough. So they were also trying to get some other water out of some rivers further away. Mainly not the river Amstel that was coming into Amsterdam, because that was already polluted. So they were getting water from another river that's about 30 kilometers away from here, and they were transporting it to Amsterdam. But you can imagine the price for that water was quite high. It was quite high. So most of the poor people could not afford. They could not afford uh, to buy that. So what were they drinking? Do you think? What were they drinking? They were drinking something else, something a lot healthier. Something a lot healthier. That's the next question. And now it is Trisha and also Ruth and KM and Linda. Okay. Yes, exactly. They were drinking beer. Beer was a lot. While we're looking at some trash over here. I found some trash. Yes. Um, so no, they were drinking. They were drinking mainly beer. So because beer, when you're brewing beer, you're boiling it, and also because of the alcohol, it's a little more. It's a little more healthy. And the interesting thing is that that you can imagine that people in Amsterdam, and by the way, that was not only in Amsterdam, it's also in other European cities, but they were drinking beer the whole day long. So think about it, brushing your teeth. Oh no, of course they were not brushing their teeth, but they were already uh, from early in the morning until late in the evening, they were drinking beer. So that's also, some people are saying that is the reason why a lot of Amsterdam houses are a little tilted. It's nothing to do with the ground. No. It's just that they were building it when they were drinking some beer. It's one of the solutions. Of course, that's a myth. That's a beautiful myth. Well, by the way, we are here now on a very beautiful canal. That is the Prinsengracht. So here at the other side you had the houses for the rich people. On the right side, and at the left side, at this side of the canal, is the Jordan, the poor man's neighborhood, the area where the poor people were living or used to live. So you can maybe also imagine that because of all this the bad quality of the water, also the living conditions were really worse. While we're looking at the poor man's church, the northern church, why? How can I see it's a poor man's church? That's because it doesn't have a high tower, and it's a little tinier than most of the other churches from the 17th century that you can find. So. No, but they were living with a lot of people all together, dying at a young age because there were also a lot of diseases. So of course there was first a pestilence, but later also what we in the Netherlands are calling cholera. Cholera, I think, is the best explanation in English. So cholera was also one of the things that was going around here a lot. So a lot of people, and mainly, by the way, young kids, they were dying from cholera. And what happened then? We have to go. This was going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. So uh, the life expense, the most. So it is like some of the African countries, the most poorest African countries, with a lot of kids dying at a young age. That was here the norm for generations and generations. And then in the 19th century, there was a man named, and I'm gonna show you a picture while we're looking at some trash again. You see, there is still some trash, but not so much anymore. So, this man, Samuel Sarfati. Samuel Sarfati. You can maybe imagine Samuel, it's a Jewish name. He came from a rich family, and he was a doctor. He was a doctor, but not only that, he was also a very smart man, a very smart man. And somewhere half in the 19th century, he started working, and he had his doctor's office very nearby the Jordan. And what he was seeing is that were a lot of um, there were a lot of people that were coming to his office with a very bad health, and he thought, we have to do something about this. We have to do something about this. And how can we improve? How can we improve the sanitation? How can we improve the living conditions of the people living in this area? So he was thinking about it, and then he thought, like, okay, because if I'm just working here as a doctor, that doesn't make sense. So I have to do something else. So what he did is he made sure that he became part, and as a rich person, that was a little easier, but he became part of the Amsterdam government. So he became even an alderman at one moment, and of course, he was quite rich himself, and he said, like, okay, we have to do something about these poor living conditions in the Jordan area. And how we're going to do that? Yeah, the other people here in the government were saying, like, yeah, it's a poor man's neighborhood, so we're not gonna spend so much money. So he didn't have enough money to make to do a lot of things, but he was just thinking, like, how can I just do with little things have more sanitation? And one of the things that he invented, and I'm talking now about 1843, he invented the poop carriage. I'm not kidding, the poop carriage that was going, and I can even show you a picture of that. We're now looking at the picture. You see a man who is, and you see some people waiting in a line. They all have a bucket, and that's the bucket with their poop and their pee, and they're waiting on the man to throw it. So it was a sort of a garbage man, but then only for poop and pee. And exactly, it was the poop mobile, and I now forgot the name that they gave it. But the interesting thing is, they gave it the name of they named it after a famous perfume factory that was nearby Amsterdam. So just outside of Amsterdam was a famous perfume factory, and they were naming it after that. So, and that carriage was going here through the Jordan from house to house to collect all the poop and the pee. So that was a very cheap solution. One of the other solutions was to start um, filling up the canals. So by filling up the canals, people cannot throw their trash and their poop and their pee in the canals anymore. So that was the second thing he decided to do. And I was now walking a little here to the site because it is so beautiful over here, Amsterdam, with the skies and these old 17th century houses. So, but yeah, these were the first things. These were the first things. But then later in the 19th century, there were several times epidemics of cholera again. So it was coming back and coming back. And what they found out finally is that it was coming mainly via the drinking water. With drinking water that had contact with poop or pee from people that had that disease, and that was spreading through the city. It was spreading through the city. So uh, they decided again under Samuel Servati to do some more, and they were building a new system to have fresh drinking water. Oh, wait. You can see it's a little busier over here on the side. I'm walking a little back because I want to show you also something else. I was just walking here to the bridge because of the beautiful sky. So at least you don't have only trash pictures today. No, but they were thinking, how can we get fresh drinking water? That river is a little far away. It's quite expensive. So maybe we can do something with pipelines. And what they started doing is they were thinking, okay, we have an area nearby Haarlem, and that's not so far away from Amsterdam. And there are dunes. There are dunes over there, and in the dunes there's a lot of fresh drinking water. And what they started doing is using the dunes and the sand of the dunes to filter the water. So they were making two pipelines. One pipeline coming from the dunes to the city of Amsterdam, with the fresh water that was fresh because it was filtered by the sand, and there was a pipeline going back with the filthy water. It was cleaned already a little, but with the filthier water, and they were pumping it into the water dunes, and then it was going through the sand. So a natural way of filtration of the drinking water. And the interesting thing is, it is now 2023. It is now 2023, and we're still using that. We're still using exactly the same system that they designed in the 19th century. So we're still drinking in Amsterdam mainly the water that is filtered in the sand dunes nearby Haarlem. So it's really interesting how these kind of things, because of this better drinking water, uh, so because of that, all the better drinking water, number of people dying at a young age was going down a lot. But of course, we still had to collect the trash. So later on, they were also getting trash collectors. But Amsterdam, and as you can see, I've been walking with you already a little through the Jordan. Most of these streets are very narrow, so there's not a lot of space. So you can imagine if you have a lot of trash that you need a trash collector here almost every day. So they needed to find a solution for that. And what they did, and that's why I was walking back now a little. Of course, they have everywhere in the streets. We have these beautiful dustbins, all with, by the way, oh, this was in fire, but you can still see the crosses of Amsterdam over there on the side. But no, what we have are these interesting, and these are very new. Trash bins that we have over here, and there are different ones next to each other. So there's the glass, there's the blue, that is paper, and the one here at the left side is for the rest. But as you can see, they're not very big. But what is here? If we, I'm not. Let's see if I can look inside a little. It is going. Okay, we're going now. I don't know if you can see it a little. it is quite deep inside. Oh, my music is starting to play some medieval music. I don't know why. Automatically. Sounds cool. Yeah, that was inside the trash bin in Amsterdam. Did you ever do that before on a tour? I don't know. No, but under here, you can see the size of the trash. There is a hole under here of about 4 meters high. So there's a hole about 4 meters high where we're throwing all our trash. And you can also see that here on the top, there's a sort of construction. So what happens several times per week, there's coming a truck here and they're literally getting with like a big thing, they're getting this up and then 4 meters of trash just in the ground over here is getting into the truck and moved away. So it is a quite brilliant system. They started this in the 90s. It costed a lot of money, but there are now a lot of other Dutch and even other European cities that are starting to use the same system. So if you don't have a lot of place on the streets and you don't want all the trash laying outside with the rats and the birds and all that kind of animals that of course coming, then this is a brilliant solution for that. So just showing you how it is even nowadays. So let me go a little more. I'm just gonna take you a little more into the Jordan. So and yes, and it is all recyclable. So we're separating it, and then it is so we're separating it and then all recycled. So in the Netherlands at this moment, about a little over 90% of all the trash is recycled. In Amsterdam, it's still a little less, and that's mainly because a lot of people are throwing their trash in the wrong place. So they're throwing their paper with best trash or their glass in there. So, yeah, it is already a lot better over here than in the 18th and 19th century. And even, I have to say, wait, I'm just going to show you my face for a moment. Even the interesting thing is that my dad, he came in Amsterdam a lot when he was young. And he was always telling me when I was young, so like, yeah, Amsterdam, it's a dirty city. It's a quite dirty city. And when he came in Amsterdam in the 60s, 70s, and 80s a lot, it was still a dirty city. Because what I'm telling you all is about all kind of systems they made. But also in the 19th century, they started by building pipes for a complete sewage system. But the sewage system, that was quite expensive. And the interesting thing is that the sewage system, that the last canal houses in Amsterdam are only connected to the sewer in 1989. So before 1989, there were still houses and also houseboats, by the way, that were that have a direct connection with the canals. So all the poop and the pee was just coming, and everything out of the shower was just coming directly into the canals. So it is something very new that it is not stinking here anymore. And nowadays the water quality is even so good that they say you can drink it. Maybe it's not the highest quality, but they're saying you can drink it without getting sick. So, but maybe don't try this. Don't try this at home. So there are nowadays, there are a lot of fish in the canals. There are, and yeah, the water quality is it's not so bad anymore. So, but don't try if you come to Amsterdam. Don't try to drink it because it can still be, I tried it. So, but it is really a lot better than it was before. Oh, I'm now showing my face still. I was not even. So, oh, did you see a stealth bear? I don't know anything about stealth bears, but I'm just going to take you to a little other location and then maybe. One moment. I'm always getting a little lost, to be honest, when I'm in the... Oh yeah, it's over here. I'm always getting a little lost in the Jordan because there's so many small side streets and a lot of them have a completely different pattern if you compare it to the other parts of Amsterdam. So the Canal District is a sort of a spider web, but not over here. The Jordaan is all in a different pattern. And by the way, look at this. What's a stealth beer? You will see. You will see. Look, it's a beautiful wooden house here, just in the middle. With again, look, there are some hyacinths already. Flower season is almost there. No more trash, just flowers. Okay, and I'm now coming over here on one of the other original canals of the original canals of the Jordaan. And as you can see, also over here, there's no water anymore. There's no water anymore. So this is the same as the canal or the street where we were before. It is filled up. It is filled up to make first, just to make sure that people were not throwing the trash anymore. And what happened in the 50s and 60s, they started placing all the cars over here. So it's now a giant car park. But the interesting thing is, if I will do a tour here in about 5 to 10 years from now, the cars will be gone and it will be playgrounds and green for kids. So it will be completely different from what it is now. So bit by bit, we are removing all the cars outside of Amsterdam. So and that sounds great. Yeah, it is unbelievable. Every year they're removing about 1,500 cars. So bit by bit, they're getting less and less cars in Amsterdam. And where will the cars go? That's a good question. Queen V. So what they're making is several parking garages on the borders of the city. So just outside of the old city center. That's one. And the second thing is they try to make it more interesting to walk or to just cycle. And we also have a lot of people, and I'm one of them, by the way, in Amsterdam, that don't have a car anymore themselves. So they're just using shared cars. So I also have a shared car that is standing. There are even several ones that are just standing in the street. And you can, if you want, you can use one. But it's of course not necessary. And it saves a lot of money, yeah, because I don't need a car every day of the week. So, for example, the red one over here. Just let me go here a little. You can see it. It is saying an auto voor iedereen, a car for everyone. So it's basically the car sharing system. So it's all working with an app like Heygo. So it's very easy. It is utopia, yeah. Yeah, no car insurance, all that kind of things. You're just renting it for the day. So a lot of the tours that I'm doing when I'm going outside, last year for some months I had a car until it had this Waterloo literally in Waterloo, by the way. But I'm now getting back to a shared system. So there's just several shared cars in the street. So by the way, okay, I'm just gonna tell you one other thing. When I was thinking about this tour, like what can I tell you about trash? Then I get a lot of inspiration. So I'm gonna search for songs. You heard already some before. I'm gonna think about all kind of other things. And then there was also one thing that made me think a little about my youth. I was thinking, what is all related to trash? One moment. Oh, I'm now lost where I want to go to. One moment. I'm just preparing it. So now I was getting back to my youth, and then I was thinking about, and I think a lot of you know where I'm now talking about. I'm just gonna play some music. Let's see if it works.
Okay. I've waited long enough, and now the time has come.
Oscar, what are you doing anyway?
What does it look like I'm doing, Bob?
Well, it looks like you're, making a mess.
I'm getting ready to sing my song, so I'm throwing out all my trash onto the sidewalk. Isn't it beautiful?
Well, I wouldn't say it's exactly beautiful, Oscar.
Well, I would. Just look at it all. What a beautiful junky mess of rotten, rusty, mangy, musty, crummy, beautiful trash. Oh, I love trash. Anything dirty or dingy or dusty. Anything ragged or rotten or rusty. Yes, I love trash. If you really want to see something trashy, look at this. I have here a sneaker that's tattered and worn. It's all full of holes and the laces are torn. A gift from my mother the day I was born. I love it because it's trash. Oh, I love trash. Anything dirty or dingy or dusty. Anything ragged or rotten or rusty. Yes, I love trash. Here's some more rotten stuff. I have here some newspaper, 13 months old. I've wrapped fish inside and it's smelly and old. But I wouldn't trade it for a big pot of gold. I love it because it's trash. Yes, I love trash. Anything dirty or dingy or dusty. Anything ragged or rotten or rusty. Yes, I love trash. Now look at this restless junk. 5 o'clock, it won't work, and then no telephone. A broken umbrella, a rusty trombone. And I am delighted to call them my own. I love them because they're trash. Oh.
So I was getting back into my youth, and I was thinking about, what was that? What was that animal in Sesame Street that was always in a trash can and also was always a little crouchy and a little like not liking the world? And then I was like, oh, that was Oscar. So, and then my creativity started working. Okay, I'm gonna bring you my Oscar in a trash can. So that is also sometimes how it works. Thank you. So thank you for joining today. It was a little different tour than normally. Not only because there was no trash in the streets in the end, um, but also, of course, because of what I said earlier on the tour. Because what I just heard about Francis just before the tour. So I still hope you enjoyed it, to see a little part of Amsterdam, of the Jordan, to see my Oscar in a trash can. And I will do a lot of tours in the coming weeks again. Also back in Amsterdam now, because I'm back over here, and several ones about the Jewish history. But not not only that, there are also a lot of other things coming, and it is only, I think, 3.5 weeks now before flower season. So the flowers will also come soon. So and yes, I have space in my backpack for a trash can. It didn't fit completely, but okay. I wasn't that far. It wasn't that far away. So no, but I'm thank you. I want to thank you all for joining today. So I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, at least, to go through one of my favorite neighborhoods, the Jordan. If you come to Amsterdam, go over here because it is beautiful. And so yeah, so hopefully there were no more strikes in the coming years. Otherwise, I have to do this. I have this tour again. And oh yeah, one last thing. I saw that Shoshana was also in the tour, and I want to thank you for sponsoring me. But can you send me maybe a message via my email, or because I have a little present. I have a little present for you. So thank you. Thank you for joining. I'm taking my Oscar with me